everyone. My name is Carrie, and I'm interviewing Tanalyn on September 19th, 2020 for the WiC Oral History Project. This interview is being conducted and recorded in a private Discord chat. The recording will be made available for anyone interested on the Black Dragons Discord in the Oral Histories channel. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
I was glad you were interested in doing this. So, how do you pronounce your in-game name, and why did you choose this name for yourself?
It's pronounced Tanalyn. I actually had a friend in grade school whose name was Tanalyn, and we looked really similar. So one day we kind of had jokingly switched names, and it kind of stuck.
Did you keep doing that?
We just kept doing it throughout the year.
That must have confused so many people.
Yeah. And then, as an adult, I just always found the name really pretty. So I just used it for my in-game.
I gotcha. Okay, that's cute. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
So when did you first start playing the game?
Oh gosh, I started, I think it was maybe July or August of last year. Yeah.
All right. And what made you first interested in playing the game?
I always love Game of Thrones. I read the books when I was 13 or 14, and then the series came out, and I really enjoyed the series. But I hadn't really played any other games before this. I'd spent 4 months in Spain, but I was working from there for my company that's in the United States. And so on the days, or not the days, but the time of days where I didn't have anybody to talk to at work, I would just kind of waste time playing this game, basically.
I gotcha. That makes sense. It's a good downtime thing to do.
Yeah, especially in the beginning, there's so many little things to just keep you occupied, but not really having to invest, a ton of time or energy into the games. There's just lots of just clicking around.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So tell me, what was the first kingdom that you were in when you first started?
My first kingdom was K43.
K43. Okay. What was that experience like starting the game there?
It was kind of funny. I had been playing the game for about, I want to say, on and off for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then I joined an alliance just because the game prompts you to join an alliance, right?
Yeah.
And I kind of just joined whatever open alliance was there. And that alliance was called TOW, T-O-W. And literally 2 days later, I became Duke.
How did that happen?
The old Duke or Duchess basically became inactive. So the game said, the Duke hasn't logged on for 5 days. And so the Duke ended up being, I'm not really sure how this happened. So I think the game made the Chief Knight the Duke, and then he just randomly gave it to me. And I think I might have been the highest powered player in the alliance at the time, but I was maybe 10 million, 11 million. It was a very small alliance.
Okay.
But it was a very new kingdom at the time. It was still a protected kingdom.
Okay.
So we had a few months before we had our first KDK and stuff. So all of the alliances there were pretty small. The biggest alliance was 1 billion. And I think our alliance was, at the time, maybe 300 or 400 million.
So how long were you with this alliance?
A pretty long time. I think that, so, yeah, I always try to take things pretty, when I decide to try something, I'm always pretty serious about it. So, when they handed me Duke, I was this could be fun, right? So,
right.
I started a Discord for the alliance, and I started getting everybody to move their castles to our hive because we were basically all over the place, all over the map. started talking to people in the alliance became a lot more social after we started the Discord and everything. And I basically stayed there for, I'm going to say between 6 to 8 months. Something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what was the motivating factor for you to be leaving? Because you were there for quite some time.
Yeah, it was. At the time, K43 was more of a cooperative server, with, the biggest guy on the server was 100 million, maybe between 100 to 200 million. We had war days, basically had one war day per week. I think it increased to 2. And at the time I was thinking about quitting the game, actually, because leading that alliance is just like a lot of, it just took a lot of time, and I had some stuff in my real life that I had to kind of focus on.
Right.
And then at the same time, it's like when I play the game, I want to be able to really enjoy it. And I really enjoy PvP, but I wasn't PvPing on that server as much as I would have liked. And I wasn't getting the experience because I was like the biggest player in my alliance. So there's not really anybody that I can kind of like learn from there. So just to kind of get more PvP experience, I decided to leave. And I went to K12 after that. No, sorry, I went to K20. K20.
K20. Okay, why'd you choose K20?
Funny story. So I, an alliance from K20 ended up moving to K43. And, there was definitely some posturing that happens whenever a new alliance comes to your server and they want to make a space for themselves, So unfortunately, that meant kind of getting into it with my alliance. So I wanted to do my research on them, and I contacted some people on K20 to see if they could give me some info, just kind of doing my opposition research, as you say.
Yes.
And, I ended up being friends with the people that I contacted. And after I decided to leave K43, I ended up joining their alliance.
And what alliance is that?
SWW.
Okay.
But they've since kind of disbanded.
Okay.
So it was, I've been in Tau, and we changed our name to BBL, and then after BBL I went to SWW.
I gotcha. Okay, so what was it like no longer leading an alliance for a while?
Well, that didn't last very long because I always want to be so involved, and I feel like, I have a lot of game knowledge that I want to share. And so, when I jumped to K20, this is actually kind of funny. Bubble Tease, Bubble Boy, he told me, he bamboozled me. He said, he's like, K20 is a really active server.
Oh, no.
Very well balanced. And I was like, oh, great, cool. So I joined. And then like the day after I joined, somebody was like, why did you come here? K20 is dead, right? And I said, no, I didn't know that.
Bubble.
Yeah. So like maybe a week or two after I joined SWW, we had merged with an alliance called NVO and on K12, and we moved to K12. And I had some friends from my old alliance, BBL, who wanted to join. So kind of in order to represent and protect their interests, I became like one of the chosen people from SWW to like represent SWW, but also represent like my people from BBL,
right.
As like the new NVO council.
Okay. And how did that work out for you?
ended up not being there for very long. Because I think that as the merge between NVO and SWW was really hard because I think there was just like a difference of philosophy, difference of how both sides kind of wanted to play the game.
Why would they want to
I ended up
merge?
leaving NVO for FDH.
Well, why would they want to merge then if they had different philosophies?
You know, I think with every merge, I've been through a few merges,
Okay.
and I think with every merge, you know, when you're talking and negotiating and seeing if this is going to be a good fit, everything's, you know, everything can be said in a very idealistic way, and you may put it out there like, you know, our players really like to fight. We really like PvP. Is K12 like a war server? We were told like, yeah, K12 is like, you know, there's war 24/7 on K12. There's no peace days. You can do whatever you want. So we jumped there. That's kind of what we did. But I think NVO preferred to be a little bit more diplomatic about things at the time. There were different people in leadership at the time, and it caused a lot of conflicts because, you know, on one hand you have people that just want to enjoy playing the game, and then on the other hand you have people that you know, like I said, want to be a little bit more diplomatic about it.
Right.
And I think at that time in my gameplay, I was more like, well, it's just a game and I just want to enjoy it. So I don't really care about this other alliance being mad that, you know, we attack their hive because there's no rules. There's no peace days here. So.
Right.
Yeah.
So did it rely the kingdom heavily on naps or just really everybody, it was a free for all?
You know, I think that's where the difference of philosophies kind of happened, is that we were told that like, you know, we weren't going to nap with anybody, but then when we got there, we were napped like 6-7 different alliances. So,
Okay.
Yeah, the people that we had brought from SWW really didn't kind of enjoy that part of it. You know, some relative drama ensued that I won't get into, but
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think the kingdom kind of relied heavily on. I think that there were a lot of different naps between different alliances. I think there was a group of alliances that came to K12 from K6, if I'm not wrong, and they were essentially napped together and had kind of their own little coalition. Then NVO was napped with FDH. They were, you know, basically allies on the server. So when I left NVO, it was kind of a natural thing to join FDH for a while.
Okay, so that's where you ended up, is FDH.
Yes.
Okay, so tell me about that.
I spent quite some time there, I think. You know, I really like the people in FDH. I think it's a great alliance. You know, it's very social, which was what I enjoyed. They had a lot of great fighters in FDH, and you know, it was definitely I felt more a sense of camaraderie there than I did in other alliances that I'd been in.
Why do you think,
you know,
that
just
is?
kind of, I think just like the social aspect, just being in voice every night with these guys, and talking to them, getting to know them, like saying hi to their kids on voice is like,
yeah,
cutest thing.
Nice.
Yeah.
You can't help bond when people bring the kids in. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I still feel very bonded to FDH, and I'm still like in their Discord and hang out with them. And you know, anytime they would like need help, like I would, you know, for sure come and help them. I think they were on K67 for a while, and they had like this ARP invasion that happened. So myself and Millers, who had also been in FDH for a while, came and like helped them with their siege. And I just wouldn't think twice before like offering them my help.
I gotcha. So how long were you with FDH?
I'm so bad at remembering like time frames for things. I was there probably, I want to say 4 months. Yeah, I don't know. It was a little while. Okay. You know, relatively speaking for this game.
Okay. So, what happened next?
K-12 ended up kind of dying. We had our own little ARP invasion on K-12.
Okay.
And there was just a lot of movement on K-12. Like there was an alliance that came and took over King's Landing and basically kicked NBO out of King's Landing. And then there was a lot of, I feel it was a very toxic environment. I had people, telling me to die of cancer, like that kind of stuff. It was extremely toxic.
I'm so sorry.
And I think, I sort of just get used to it in this game, which is kind of unfortunate, but
Yeah, no, that's not something you should get used to.
Yeah, you just have to have sort of thick skin, and I think also as like a female gamer, you have to have like thicker skin.
Yeah, that is true.
So yeah, I mean, so K-12 just kind of became like just not fun to be around. Alliances started to move out, and that server ended up kind of dying for a while. So FDH decided to go to K67.
Okay.
And that was more of like a peace server, and not something that I probably not something that I would have wanted to do. Not fitting into like my style of gameplay.
Right.
And then at the same time, like I said, I actually left them before they moved, so it's probably not fair to say that that's why I moved, because it's definitely not.
Okay.
K-12 just became so toxic that Millers and I decided to just leave. And
oh no.
he invited me to he invited me to TNR, which was his former alliance before FDH, and so I've been there ever since.
Okay. Approximately when was that?
Again,
I know. That's why I said approximately.
Yeah.
I'm putting you on the spot there.
I think it was probably January or maybe February. I think probably February.
Okay.
We moved to K30. TNR moved to K31. And actually, when Millers and I moved to K31, we weren't even in TNR. We started this like little alliance called NPP, No Pants Posse.
Who came up with that name?
He did, and
I totally me not shocked. Okay.
Yeah, and we had some friends, like a group of like a dozen people, maybe less.
Mm-hmm.
And our alts basically formed NPP, and we went to K31 and took King's Landing.
Okay.
And it was literally like a dozen of us or less.
So what happened then? How did you end up becoming TNR?
So we were in NPP just temporarily until TNR could move to K31.
So they were already established.
Yeah.
Okay.
TNR has been an alliance since K24. I think they started on K24, and it was Miller's old alliance.
Yeah, that's what I thought, but I have limited interaction with TNR over this past year, so
yeah,
I don't want to assume.
Mm-hmm. So then we formed NPP just for a little while. It's like a little temporary alliance that we had. And then when TNR fully moved over to K31, we I say rejoined because that was kind of the idea for Millers. But we joined TNR.
Okay. So what has your experience been like since joining TNR?
It's been great. Like I've been there ever since. I don't really see myself ever leaving TNR. I'm obviously I'm the Duke now, so
okay.
Yeah.
All hail to the Duchess.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Okay. How did that come about?
I just became very involved with just the organizational side of the alliance management, and Clara, who's our diplomatic advisor, had some like real life stuff that she needed to attend to. She was really busy with work and stuff. So I kind of took over like the Diplo responsibilities for a while, and just like over time, like kept taking on more and more responsibility. And,
Right.
when it was time to kind of switch Duke. So basically, Banky Edwards was Duke for a while, and then Millers became Duke, and then he stepped down. And so I basically, I assume that I became the next natural choice.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like nominated, and then I was kind of like, well, I mean, to be honest with you, like we don't really have like a single leader in TNR. Everything's decided by council. Everybody's vote holds the same weight.
Right.
In our council, I think I was basically asked to become Duke just because we wanted one of our rally leads to have the king or queen buff.
Okay.
So it made practical sense. Yeah.
Yes. No, that is definitely useful.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the challenges you've encountered since becoming Duchess?
I would say like the biggest challenge for me is like the nonstop DMs. Like I love my members, but I like don't want to be like, I'm like trying to sleep, and when I wake up, there's like I mentioned this to you earlier before we started. I get a message at like 6 a.m, and I'm hypersensitive to when my phone goes off because I've always had a job where I had to be on call.
Right.
And so in the middle of the night, if my phone rings or makes any kind of noise, I like immediately wake up and check it. And I might be like half asleep, but I'll check it. And it was like somebody wanted to join TNR, but it was like 6 a.m, so I kind of like put a pin in it, and I thought to myself, like, I'll get to it later when I wake up. And then I went back to sleep. And when I woke up, like maybe 3 hours later, there were so many DMs that it pushed that person's DM down, and I couldn't find them anymore because I couldn't remember their name.
Oh no.
Yeah, so it's the amount of like spam that I get on Discord, not specifically from like members, but just from like in general, just from the
amount of communication.
Yeah. It's just like a lot to deal with at times. So that's probably the biggest challenge for me because I always want to respond and I always want to be helpful. So it's hard for me to just like ignore it or pass it off to somebody. And because I have that like mentality where I have to respond to like every person that contacts me, it becomes like a little bit stressful, but I love my alliance, and the good definitely outweighs the more stressful parts.
Good. So what is your favorite part of being a Duchess?
My favorite part? It would be fair to say I don't exactly enjoy being Duchess.
Okay, so then you don't have a favorite part at all?
I mean, if I was Duchess but I wasn't Queen, that would be like the best, right? Because I could still get buffs, right? I could still get research buffs. I wouldn't have to do like the fairs every day. Gotcha. I really want to be able to make like an ult, the Duke of the Alliance.
Yeah, why don't you?
Well, like I said, we wanted somebody to have the Queen buff.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the only reason why I'm still Duchess.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility, or some such thing.
Yeah, I guess so.
So, tell me a little bit about your alliance structure. So you say you work as sort of like a council more than just a ruler, right?
Yeah.
So, how do decisions get made? How do you communicate with each other? What is the way in which it functions?
I mean, for the most part, like, for example, every new recruit that comes through, every member application that comes through requires 3 officers' approval before they can be accepted into the alliance. Any major decision that needs to be made about the alliance basically is discussed with all officers, and we always go with the majority decision. Okay. But it's definitely like we don't hold a vote for every single decision. It's just a little bit more casual than that. As far as like how like the council kind of like operates. It's like I said, it's pretty casual. People contribute what they feel they can at the time, you know. I think like people's lives aren't very static, right? So I may not have time, you know, next month, and so because we have this council, it's kind of, you know, can operate without one single person. You know, they don't need me there all the time. I don't. People can feel free to take breaks whenever they need to and contribute where they can. You know, some people are really good at like the day-to-day stuff and the admin stuff. Some people are really good at more of the PvP stuff. So wherever they feel they can contribute, that's, you know,
that's good.
What they do. Yeah,
that's really good. So would you say the council would be the key to a successful alliance, the sharing of that responsibility?
I think that if you feel a real camaraderie with the people that you're sharing an alliance with, then decisions are made pretty easily, right? Because you're willing, you know, maybe you won't agree with something, but you're willing to make a concession here or there for the people that you enjoy playing with, right? Family, I think, is what's important in an alliance, because even when you have disagreements or have like periods of time where, you know, maybe the alliance is going through some problems, you kind of like push through together, and I think that's probably the biggest key.
Okay. So, tell me, what's your favorite part of the game?
My favorite part of the game, I definitely enjoy more of the PvP aspect of the game,
right?
Which is why I love TNR, because we're primarily like PvP alliance. That can sort of be, you know, to the detriment of our PvE activities.
What,
because
you find like lacking troops because you just fought or something like that?
Yeah, I mean, we have like mostly zero castles in TNR.
Oh, okay.
And our zero castles are like amazing, and they have so much respect for me. Like they have so much discipline in like making sure they don't have too many troops, right? And a lot of people don't even keep like you know, I think most people think of people that are zero castles as like people who have about 3 million troops, but like even having 3 million troops is like kind of hard to zero quickly.
Yes.
So a lot of like, I think a lot of our zero castles only keep like 1.5 million or less troops.
Oh, wow, that's got to be
Yeah,
hard for like AC.
yeah, it's really hard for AC because we never have enough troops to send to like all castles, and I feel bad because like I'm usually the one that leads like quarterbacks AC, and I'll be asking for reinforcements to whatever castle, and in the moment it's like I'm stressed out, right? Because I'm like, why are you not reinforcing this castle? But then after AC is finished, I'm like, well, they don't have troops because, you know, we're like a PvP alliance and we just don't have that many troops to spread around. So I always feel bad because I'm like, guys, I need reinforcements. Like, please help me. Please tell me what's wrong. And like later, I'm like, I really need to chill out because they don't have the troops, and we don't really like. I think I'm a naturally competitive person, so in the moment, I always want to win. But
right.
later, usually, like we don't like. I wouldn't say TNR really cares about AC or any like PVE events, just because we just don't really measure success by that. So,
well, it's more of a means to an end, like getting the medals and such, right?
Yeah, exactly. And like as long as we're getting the rewards that we need, I would consider that a success. But I don't necessarily think that we need to win every match. At the in the moment, like I said, I feel very competitive and I want to win. But
but that craziness
from
passes
a big
later.
picture perspective, it doesn't really matter for us.
Okay. So, what is your least favorite part of the game?
Just like the daily grind, like it's become so much. It's become a lot, right? Like there's so many little things that you have to finish your dailies. You know, like I just started stop like I just kind of stopped doing them at some point. For like a while, I wasn't Fish Beyond when it first came out. I was like, oh my god, this is just like another thing that I have to do. And I'm like straight up boycotting it, like I'm not doing it. But then people started yelling at me, and they said, "You need to do your Expedition Beyond like every night." Like, they would like remind me every night, "Do your Expedition Beyond, please." And so I became a little bit more disciplined about it. at least on my main account.
Okay.
But just that daily grind, like I just can't get through it. Like it's too much for me, especially like on top of that, dealing with all of the alliance stuff, and then having to like do that daily grind that becomes just like more and more and more tedious as the game releases new content. I just can't do that anymore. So
Okay.
yeah, I kind of stopped really doing my dailies on my main account, except for like I basically log in and I do my Expedition Beyond, and then the rest of the time that I spend in game is like doing stuff for the alliance.
Do you find yourself basically inseparable in that? You're basically the alliance now more than a player?
Um, I guess so. You know, most of the decisions I make about my account and just my gameplay are, you know, those decisions are made from the perspective like of how is this going to help the alliance, right?
Right.
Like I could sit here and spend like, you know, I could recharge and just spend like all of my diamonds on badge chests. I could spend like all of my alliance coins on badge chests and just get the maxed badges, right?
Right.
But that's not, you know, like what would actually help my alliance is if I finished Great City research, right? Because that'll give me an increased rally size, and then we don't have to rely on like one person all the
Right.
time to be our rally lead. And so that's kind of where my diamonds go at this point. Whereas like, you know, if I really wanted to just focus on my account, I would just max out all my badges, you know.
Okay. That makes sense.
Or like max refinement and stuff like that, you know. But I try to think of like what's actually going to help my alliance, right? Like those like Legion skills, the Legion Dragon skills, like,
Yes.
you know, I could get the reroute and that would help my castle, right? Or I could get um, the Legion building and that would help the alliance.
So, what would you say is your proudest moment in the game?
I don't know if I would say I'd have a single proudest moment, but I'm definitely like proud of what TNR has accomplished as a you know, not a huge alliance, not a small alliance, but definitely the underdogs in a lot of situations that we find ourselves in. Like the most recent example would be like last month's Champion Siege. We were definitely not the strongest alliance going into that match because we were against both we were against WTP, RUI, FO, and so we kind of said, you know, we're not going to go for the champion title. We're not going to go for the objective, but we're definitely going to go in and have fun, right?
Right.
And we did what we set out to do. We went in and rallied a lot of players, and I don't have the numbers right now, but the amount of like troops that we killed versus troops that we lost is like pretty big. So I'm proud of TNR just because, you know, even though we are smaller, we don't have like a lot of whales. Like we basically have like Millers, and he's, you know, spending less time in the game, but we still make do.
Right.
And you know, like a lot of alliances, they're you know, I talk to a lot of people in this game, and then a lot of times they're like, well, we just don't even enter those events because there's just no chance when they have so many whales. And whereas like I feel like TNR is like, we don't care if there are whales, you know, because we're zero castles, who cares?
Right.
You know, I'm not a zero castle, and I stand to lose a lot if I get rallied or double rallied, but I'm not really concerned about it because I don't need 12 million troops. Like that doesn't really help my alliance, right? What helps my alliance is if I go in there and do what I can. And then, you know, if I end up getting zero tomorrow, I'll just be a zero castle. That'd be like perfectly fine for me. Like, and I think I'm proudest of like that philosophy that TNR has that is, you know, kind of drives what we do and how we interact with, you know, this game.
I gotcha. So, who in the game do you admire? Who do you like look up to or respect?
Um,
It doesn't have to be limited to one person. I know a lot of people get nervous with this question.
Yeah. I should have thought about this before because I know you asked this question.
Yeah.
And for some reason I didn't think about this ahead of time.
Well, that's good. Honestly, it's good because whatever you say is going to be perfectly fine no matter what.
I have a lot of respect for like zero castles in general.
Okay.
Because a lot of people play this game and think that they need to be like a stronger and stronger castle and they have to build more and more and more troops. But I think that zero castles have a lot of discipline and not training more troops than they can hide and because they're then putting themselves in a position where they can help their alliance the most, right? And not making the decision to just make their castle stronger just because they want to.
Right.
So I have a lot of respect for that. We have a lot of zero castles that, like that I really respect. Like we have Max and like Grimmalicious and Amiandra and TNR that are really great zero castles. But there's definitely zero castles in other alliances that are deserving of kind of that respect, that level of respect. And then I think as far as like individual people, like I obviously have a lot of like respect and admiration for like Millers, who's like, kind of our military leader of TNR. Like he's kind of like the backbone of TNR. And I would say like I also have a lot of respect for Freeze, who was the former leader of DH.
Okay, yeah.
But I always respected that like he always made decisions not necessarily to compete at the highest level, but definitely decisions that put his members' interests first, as opposed to putting the alliance, at a more competitive level.
Okay.
He made a lot. Like I think that he's a great leader in that he thinks more about the people as opposed to just the game.
I gotcha.
So yeah, I mean, I there's so many people that I could name, but like, I would just be going on forever.
No, it's fine. No pressure. No pressure here. So, are there any additional special moments that you haven't mentioned that you'd like to mention that stand out to you?
There's so many, but I think just the journey, of TNR, like coming from, they were in K27 and they moved to K31 knowing that they weren't going to be like the strongest alliance there, but they wanted to have fun and fight and learn to be more of a PvP alliance, and it took a lot of work to kind of get to that point. It took a lot of encouraging members to drop bubble and just take a risk and have some fun. And we did like we actually did this like survey. Like I built this survey and asked members to fill it out, and it was just about understanding what motivates people to unbubble and what makes them not want to unbubble. And from that survey I learned a lot. It gave me a lot of insight. So it took a lot of tweaking things. It took a lot of like more positive encouragement, positive reinforcement as opposed to negative. And over like a few months, like we really kind of turned into just like a strictly PvP alliance with mostly members who are dropping bubble all the time to reinforce rallies and risking their own troops. And we ended up on K31. Like I said, we weren't the biggest alliance there, and then ATD came, and we were totally willing to see how that would go for a while and fight them. And, we didn't immediately run away from that, and I think that's something that I'm really proud of. And then kind of when that sort of dried out, we went to K27, and again we weren't the biggest alliance. There was a 40 billion alliance here at the time, and we fought them. They declared war on us, and I would say we won that war, being half their size. And like I'm just really proud of like just kind of that underdog mentality.
You don't let it hold you back.
Yeah, I mean, we're all in this just have fun, right? If we lose a little bit, having fun, it's just like it's just about how you see that loss, right? Like,
Yes.
A lot of people, they can lose something in this game, and understandably, it sucks the fun out of the game for them, right? And that's totally understandable. But I think that like people in Ireland see losses as something to be learned from, and we try not to have we try not to have a lot to lose, right?
Okay.
And then on top of that, through like pushing members to do rebel leaders so that our alliance gifts help us enough that even if we do suffer some losses, we'll bounce back quickly. It's just about like mentality and the things that you prioritize in your alliance.
Okay. Can I ask? You mentioned that you surveyed your members. What are some of the reasons that people don't like to unbubble?
There's a lot of reasons, actually. I'm glad you asked this question.
Okay, good.
I
I was like, I
love,
hope this is
I
not
love,
intruding, but I'm genuinely curious because this is an ongoing problem across many
no, like I'll even
alliances.
send you the survey if you want.
That would be
But
great. Yeah, if you don't mind sharing that, because
because
then
I
can
learned a
share as
lot from
well.
this survey because
Okay, yeah.
I think you go through, I think you assume that people don't want to lose what they have in this game, right? And
Right.
they're scared to unbubble. But a lot of times it's more about we keep going back to the social aspect, right? And they feel like if they do something and they screw up, then they'll be embarrassed, right?
Okay.
So a lot of people said like, you know, I may do something wrong, and then people will be mad at me, right? Or I feel scared to do it because I don't want to embarrass myself, right? So it's
Right.
like I said, it's more about positive reinforcement, I think, and I think that can encourage members to just get out and try more. So we created this like MVP channel where like the whole channel is like it's just about giving members props when they deserve it, right? Like every after every event, we say like huge shout out, or like the MVP award goes to you know
I like
these
that.
handful of players who, like, let's say unbubble for the first time and joined a rally, and maybe they took a couple hits and weren't able to like get their troops out fast enough, but they tried, and like that's something that deserves like a huge shout out. And we try to do that regularly for like every event, every like rally. We try to do like a little MVP post, and I think that helped us as an alliance, like just encourage members to just try and like ask questions. Like one of the questions on the survey was like, I can't remember exactly, but it was like, do you feel that you can ask questions about PvP in the alliance, or do you feel that you're learning from the alliance about PvP? And some people felt like, no, I don't feel like I can ask questions, because it just goes back to that. Like I feel like if I ask a stupid question, then I'll be embarrassed. So it's just about adjusting the mentality of the alliance so that you're not shaming people, when they do something wrong, and when they ask a question that you feel is a little bit, elementary. It's just about being more helpful and more open-minded, and like just being more encouraging.
That is really admirable. I thank you for sharing that details as well as the efforts that you've been making to just make people feel more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, I would love, like, I actually have no problem like sharing this survey, because I think that if more alliances are willing to just get out there and just not really care so much about the losses and just have fun in this game, like it'll be more fun for everybody, right?
Yeah, no. Okay. Yeah, so when we're done with this, definitely send it to me and I will distribute it when this goes live. I will
Sure.
put access to it. So, all right. Is there anything else that we have not covered that you would like us to?
Uh, No, I think this is probably a good time to wrap up. I feel
Okay.
like I went on forever about things.
No, I love that you felt comfortable enough to. I know you were a little hesitant at first to do this. So I was impressed that you pushed past it and decided to do it and got comfortable enough to share all this. So it's great.
Thanks. Yeah, I mean, I think it's what I was nervous about was like what we talked about earlier. That I think this game can be really toxic, especially for like, if you're a female,
Yes.
in this game. And I'm just like more and more don't want to put myself in the position to like get, just stress out over the toxicity. So that's kind of why I was hesitating a little bit. But
I
I
understand.
think you do a great job of like keeping things positive and then making sure it's about the experiences and not just about like trash talking, people.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, it's the internet. People are going to behave how they're going to behave. But I think when we go in with the attitude of, hey, we're coming in with something positive here, please show the respect that the person is due because they are putting themselves out there for the community as a whole to try and support it. And I think going in with that does help set the tone. And so people are less likely to troll. It won't stop some of them, but I think
Yeah.
that has made a big difference because, I mean, a lot of respect to
Yeah.
the people that agree to this. This is kind of exposing in a way. And
A little bit. Yeah.
there needs to be an acknowledgement there that you guys are putting yourselves out. And I'm personally grateful for that. So thank you. So, on that note, I'm going to say thank you very much for your time today, and I will talk to you in Discord.
Thanks for having me, and I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.
Bye.